One of my favorite things I think about the whole consulting gig and about working with other businesses is you get paid to learn. You get, basically someone else pays you to make mistakes and to learn technologies, learn how to do certain things. What you find is if you're only working for yourself, it's really hard to put deadlines on yourself that you actually stick to. It's really hard to keep putting off to the next day. I'll learn WordPress tomorrow, I'll learn how to do autoresponders next week. And before you know it, a year goes by and you haven't made any money in internet marketing. And I've seen that happen a lot of times to a lot of different people. But when you take a client and they ask you, hey, can you build a website for me? Here's $5,000, and you say yes, you learn how to build a website pretty damn quickly. And that's a skill that you've got for life. You know what they say, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king? You guys are all the one-eyed man. Everyone else out there is completely blind. I've spoken to a lot of you this weekend, and many of you say to me, I can't believe just how clueless businesses are. I thought I knew nothing, but when I go to talk to these guys, I'm blowing their minds with really simple things like a WordPress website, like the fact that you can actually get a website ranked on Google. These kind of really basic things. We heard Suraj talk about how he's leveraging his existing networks to get clients, and then doing other networking on top of that to build the size of his networks. So he's going more into sort of the corporate world. And that's a good point to make, is that we say local business marketing and small businesses are often mentioned, but you don't have to think so small in terms of the size of businesses you work with. Slightly bigger is usually better, and that goes right up to some of these big, $100 million corporate companies, which sounds really scary at first. But again, when you start talking to businesses, in the $2 to $10 million range, they're just as clueless as all the small guys, except the difference is that they've got money and they're currently spending it on marketing, and that marketing isn't working, and they want something to improve. The other networks that you can leverage are in this room. There's a lot of people in this room who have a real bricks and mortar business. And they're learning this stuff, and one of the things they're going to learn is, I can't be bothered learning much more. It sounds great, it's a bit too difficult, I'd rather outsource it. And so you need to be leveraging the networks in this room to sell stuff to. I know there's a couple of guys in here who have already made some sales building websites for other people in the room. So leveraging networks is a really big benefit of this, especially as you get deeply involved in internet marketing. It seems like everyone you know is in this stuff, and a lot of them, they get to a point where building a website doesn't make sense for them. But for them to pay you a couple of $1,000s, for you it might be great, and for them it's a weight off their shoulders. So another good reason is there's a lot of money in this market for you to make. With our Consulting Tycoon students, they've made well over $1 million. The last time I actually totaled this up was, I think, around six months ago or so, around the Fastweb Formula 2 time. And this number's only from documented things. People who've actually sent me an email and said, hey Kyle, love the program, in the first month I made $10,000 or whatever. That's the total for that. So there's a lot of money to be made, and simply by providing value to people who are looking for these services. But surely the ride's over. I've been talking about this stuff for 3 years. I've been doing it since I was 17. Surely we've got to come to a point where everyone's got a website, everyone's doing local business, and it's completely saturated. And it's one of the questions I get asked quite a lot. And the answer is that that's just not the truth. Google recently commissioned a survey through Deloitte, and they found that only 50% of businesses in Australia have a website. There's around 1.2 small businesses within Australia, which means there's around 600,000 businesses that don't even have a website. And many millions more if we count the bigger businesses and the bigger corporate end. So there's still a lot of money to be made, a lot of businesses that need help. And then the other thing to consider is that, sure, 50% of them have a website, but how many of those websites actually generate leads? How many of them are ranked on Google, number one for their core keywords? How many are actually generating leads on a daily basis? How many are tied into an autoresponder series that sells people on the products and services? And when you look at those stats, the numbers are way, way down. This report didn't go in that deep, but just from my experience of talking to small business owners, you're lucky if 1 in 100 who have a website are doing anything with it or are getting any kind of results with it. So there's a lot of people out there who have spent money and they're unhappy and they're looking for a solution. So the market is still massive. I predict for the next 5 years or so, it's still going to be not easy pickings, because I think those days are gone. You know, a couple of years ago, you could literally knock on someone's door and say, hey, I'd like to sell your website, and they'd hand over money. That time's probably come and gone now. There's a lot of spammers from India and everything sending emails all the time, and that's a common problem that business owners mention. But it's still very easy. If you've got a proper framework to work within, you're learning, I guess, core skills like James teaches through Superfast Results and from these seminars, then you've got a big leg up on everyone else, and the opportunity is massive. And I just really want to get that across to you, because I think it's important that you need to see where the opportunities are, and I believe this is one of the biggest ones. There's a reason why every single speaker here has mentioned it. There's a reason why every single speaker here is doing consulting in one way or another in their business.